we have worked with the important connectors so far, right? So next step is we will look at the Power Query Editor in Power BI. So using Power Query Editor, we can do data transformation. So this is what I discussed, I explained you as part of the initial session, right? It's not working, okay, no problem. So data transformation. So before we dive into the data transformation part, let us take a quick look at the data warehouse architecture. And because if you say you're a Power BI developer, you should be knowing the business intelligence concepts like a data warehouse, what is staging area, and what is operational source system. All the things you should be knowing it. So here in this case, what happens? So this is the data warehouse architecture, typical data warehouse architecture. What we do, this is my operational source system. This is my operational source system. Here what we do is, here we don't do anything. So let's say let's say you are working for a manufacturing company, and they are receiving, they are using different applications. They are using Oracle apps, and they are the Oracle apps application. They are using it. It's the enterprise resource planning software. They bought it, and they are using that software for various purposes, for HR, human resource related data they are keying in, and also the inventory related data they are keying in. And apart from that, for customer relationship management, they are using Salesforce. It is a cloud based CRM application. We call that as a software as a service. Likewise, if you take a simple manufacturing company, or any manufacturing company, or any company, they are getting the data. They are using different source systems, different applications to store the data in. They store the data in different type of systems. One is database, or SQL server, Oracle, and also they'll be using MySQL, the combination of different RDBMS, and they might be using cloud based thing, cloud SQL database, and Azure SQL database, and they might be using the flat files, CSV files, text files. Okay, so all these data are operational source system. For example, the classic example is the e-commerce, right? So Amazon or Flipkart, what we do is we order the products. Sometimes we order the products, sometimes we cancel the orders whatever we made it a while ago or one day ago, right? We try to cancel the orders, or we might tend to modify or change the orders. So you can do, you can insert the operational system allows the users, allows the application to insert the data, modify the data, and delete the data also. And also in the operating system, they don't store huge amount of data. Okay, what they do is every once in a quarter or every once in 6 months, they will archive the data. So last 1 year data, you take a backup and put it in a backup tape, and keep only at any given point in time 1 year data. So previous year data, or prior to last 2 years data, on the last year data, you take a backup and keep only 1 year data at any given point in time. Because multiple users from your e-commerce website, right, they'll be ordering it anytime across the globe, 24/7. Hence the performance should be much faster. So let's say you're a data analyst or data scientist. What we are doing is, we need the historical data. What we do is, we take the data periodically from the source system, and then we combine all these source system data, and we do some aggregation. We remove the duplicate records, and we remove unnecessary columns, or the columns that are not relevant to our reporting or analysis. We remove it. Okay, we keep only the relevant columns, and also based on some condition, we filter the data, filtering the data, cleaning the data. In case of any formatting related issues, right, you need to clean it. For example, the data type for the date column, while reading the file, the data file using Power BI, it considers the date column as a text data type, because you are using forward slash or hyphen to distinguish which one is a month, which one is date or year, right? So in that case, the Power BI considers them as a text because you have the combination of numeric value as well as forward slash or hyphen. It's a combination of alphabetic and numeric. Even the forward slash also consists special character. Okay, if you have any special character or there along with your numeric value, that is considered as a character data type or string data type. So we need to explicitly go ahead and convert that as a date data type. That is kind of a formatting. Okay, and that is a simple example for formatting. Data type conversion, we do it. All these kind of data transformation, we will be doing it using Power BI or some other scripts. We are learning Power BI, right? So, or what we will do in some cases, the SQL Server database will be using it. We use that as a staging area. Okay, here we do all kind of data cleaning, everything. So this is the one extraction. Simply we extract the data and we load it into a staging area. Because in the data warehouse, we want to store the historical data. Only when you have the historical data, you can do year on year sales performance, year on year variation. You can compare it quarter on quarter, month on month. In your source system, let's say you are storing only 6-month data. If you want to compare, current year's the 6-month data with previous year 6-month data, or last 3 years 6-month data, you want to compare it, right? So in that case, you need to have the historical data. That is where what we do is in data warehouse, we pull the data from operational source system and then we load it into data warehouse. But before loading the data into data warehouse, we have something called staging area. In the staging area, what we will do is we do all kind of cleaning, because the data warehouse should have the pre-processed data. Okay, it should have the clean data. Okay, and so for that reason, what we do is we do all kind of transformation as part of the staging area itself. Now the question is, why can't I do the data transformation while extracting the data from the source system itself? Because my source system is already busy. Millions of users are accessing my database through the applications using Amazon e-commerce app or website. They are ordering it products across the globe, right? 24/7 millions of users, they are accessing it concurrently. In that case, while extracting the data, if I do aggregation, because even one day data itself 10 million or 50 million records will be there. While extracting the data itself, if you do the data transformation, what will happen is it will cause some performance issue on your source system itself. It will overburden your source system itself. Instead, what we will do, simply read the data and load it into all the data. You take it, the necessary data from all these source system, and put it in a temporary area. We call that as a staging area. So we call that data lake, right? So the modern term is data lake. In the data lake, we put all the raw data, right, from across the source systems, and then what we do is we do some kind of data clean transformation. The next step is we transform the data into required format. If the date column is in text data type, we convert that into date format. That is the required format. Only when you convert the date data type, so you can do date related manipulation, or you can do date related transformation. For example, order date, from the order date column you can extract only month, you can extract the week number, weekday, and the day of the week, the name of the day, right? That also you can extract it. Okay, you can leverage all the DAX function or Power Query Editor related functions to extract the month, year, date, quarter, everything. So we do all kind of transformation here. Instead of doing the transformation while extracting the data, we do this one here. Okay, and then what we do is, once the data is cleaned, and if it is if it is clean, and if it is based on our requirement, right, if that got transformed, and then only we will load. The loading comes the final stage. Okay, so once the transformation is done in the staging area, we will load the data into data warehouse. So data warehouse also we do daily data load, weekly data load. I'm not going to discuss about that at this moment. You need to remember extraction, transformation, loading. If you remember these three, that is sufficient. In the last session, we discussed the extraction topic. how to extract the data from CSV file, SQL server, using REST API, how we can pull the data and how we can grab the data from web pages, database. We have seen it, PBADS and all. Now we are going to proceed with learning what are the various types of data transformations we can do and how we can perform those data transformation using Power BI. And also we will take a look at what are the common transformations which we do it when you get a data from your source system, or when you receive a file, Excel file from your manager, how you do the data transformation. What are the common data transformation that we do it typically? That we will take a look at it now. The next question is, okay, so I clean the data and we did the cleaning, formatting, everything. So do I have to load it in data warehouse? Is it mandatory? So nowadays, most of the companies, they use data warehouse, because in the data warehouse, they store the historical data in it. Okay. If they store the historical data here in the data warehouse, later point in time, using the Power BI report canvas, you can create reports which can showcases the year on year, quarter on quarters, the sales performance, right? You can see the trend, everything, month to date sales, everything you can see, since you have the history here. Very simple. So you can use Power BI to do the data cleaning, data pre-processing, and also using Power BI you can create reports. Once you have a clean data stored in your data warehouse, we use the Power BI tool once again, and using Power View, which is nothing but your report view or report canvas. We use visuals, charts, to pull the data from the data warehouse and display the charts, visuals there. Okay, and along with the visuals we use the KPIs, everything. KPI is also visuals only, right? So we have some KPI visual and gauge chart, likewise different charts are there. So having the data is not sufficient. You need to clean the data. Once you clean the data, you need to load the data into a data warehouse, because in the data warehouse we store historical data in it. Here we don't do insert, we do only insert. Rarely we do update, and in general we don't do update and delete, because if you do update and delete on a historical data, it will take a lot of time. It will slow down the performance in the data warehouse side. This is operational system. Operational system, we do insert, update, delete via the applications. Okay, those applications, it does this one. Let's say whenever you create an order, it will get inserted, that record, right? Like you have millions of users, they are raising the order, and some customers, they are cancelling the order. It has to go and delete those orders from this source system itself. Okay, and in case of any changes to it, they can do it. But insert, update, delete, everything happening here. The volume of the data is not as high as this data warehouse, right? So because we are keeping only 1 year data, or at the maximum 1.5 to 2 years data. But don't argue with me. So what about the banking transaction? That is a separate story. At this moment, you just understand the big picture. What is extraction? You simply pull the data from your source system, and then, right, in the staging area, you do the data transformation, and then you load the clean data, or the data which you want it in the required format, right? You load it in the data warehouse. Once your data is in the required format, you generate the report using Power BI. Okay, now we will take a look at the transformation part. So what are the common data transformation that we do it in general? The common data transformations are like we do the cleaning, right? Formatting. So what do you mean by formatting? Formatting, as I told you, the text data type, right? So changing the data type, and then in case of any special character, if you find it along with the numeric value, you need to remove that special character. Otherwise, what will happen is, it will consider that entire column as a text data type. For example, you have a quantity or sales column is there. In the sales column, they put dollar along with the numeric value. But when you load the data into Power BI, when it reads, it considers that column, the sales column, has a text data type, because along with the numeric value, text data, so the dollar or special character also is present, because of which it considers a text data type. Just give me a second here. Sorry, I'm back. Okay. Yes, we need to do the common data transformation in general, right? So in general we do the formatting in the case of text data, data type conversion in simple term, and then unnecessary columns you remove it, and sometimes we need to split the columns. In the case of text data, for example, the customer first name and last name we stored in a single column. The requirement is we need to store the first name in a separate column, second name in the separate column, and also filtering. We don't want to pull the entire data from the source system. We want, based on some condition, we need to pull the data from the source system. And also we need to do some deduplication. What do you mean by deduplication? Remove the duplicate records from the source system. If you don't remove the duplicated records, what will happen is it does the double counting. And the next one is discretization. Discretization is nothing but binning. We need to create some kind of binning. What do you mean by binning? For example, you have something called customer income column is there. You want to create a new column based on the income of each customer. In the new column, it should specify high income, medium income, low income, right? So what we do is, based on the range of income value, we determine these customers are falling in the high income bucket, these customers are falling in the medium income, low income bucket. So once you create this column will help us to do some kind of classification. Okay, so for that purpose we do the discretization. Okay, we do the discretization. Next one is merging the data sets. So we don't work with single data set. In real time scenario, we will be working with multiple data sets from multiple source systems. Okay, and for that we need to merge the data set, and also we need to append the data sets. Merging the data sets, what we do is we do left join, right join, left anti-join, right anti-join, and we do some kind of inner join. All those things we do it as sort of merging the data sets. And the next one is appending the data sets. So this is the one. In this one, what we do is, for example, your manager is asking you, hey, can you please consolidate for the last 4 weeks sales, and then tell me for the 150 locations sales performance. When it comes to Walmart or Target, the volume of the data is very high. Not only the volume of the data is very high, and also the number of stores are very high. Across, if you see 2,700 plus locations are there. They have their retail chain spread across 2,700 locations, right? And you need to do some kind of forecasting, or you need to generate some reports, and it should show at any given point in time in which location, if the report user wants to see based on a specific location, what are the sales, right? You should be able to see at any given point in time, you should be able to see any specific locations sales. Okay, in that case, right, what we do is we'll have to, and also we want to get to know the holistic view, all the locations put together, what is the total sales. You need to combine all the data files. So you need to append the data. So row level appending, we append the data, and then what we do is we column level appending, concatenation, we do it. And the data imputation, next one is data imputation. If you have missing data in your data set, sometimes we remove the data, because having the missing value in your data set, and with that if you do data analysis, it doesn't make any sense. The classic example is, for example, you are working with the vehicle insurance related data, claims data. Customers, right, they file the claim, they met with some accident or some other issues, right? So they claim to file. So in that case, you should be knowing what is the data, right? In the data set, you should have the age of the vehicle, and how many what is the driver experience, and also what is the model, and what brand, what is the amount insured. and how much premium you paid, whether you paid the premium or not. All this data should be there. If any one of the column also has a missing value in it, let's say now the policy has not lapsed, okay, and the claim raised by the customer is more than the sum assured, and there are though they have they bought the policy from us, the type of accident also matters, right? Type of damage. The damage is not due to accident or drunken drive, those kind of cause behind the accident. In that case, we are not going to approve that. Even though we approve it, in the healthcare you would have seen it. Probably your grandfather or parents, when they got admitted in hospital, the health insurance, right? So though you are eligible, they don't give the entire money. They will say something like pre-existing disease we cannot cover it, since she developed some high BP, because of which she had a stroke. So hence we cannot cover that. The point here is, you're not supposed to have missing values in these columns, business columns. If you have the missing value, there is no point in creating the visual, or there is no point in doing some kind of forecasting. It will not give you the correct information. So what we do is, in that case, there are some cases we remove the data if the volume of the data is very high. Let's say the number of records which has missing values as very less. 5% of your total data set has missing values in it. We simply remove it, and then we do forecasting, or we do some kind. We go ahead with doing the data analysis. If the let's say you have 25% of the data in your data set has missing value. Already your data is not much. The volume of data is not much. And on top, if you remove 25% of the data just because it has some missing value in it, and your data size, set size will be less, with that less number of records, if you do some kind of analysis, it will be kind of a biased one. So hence, in that kind of situation, we need to perform data imputation. What do you mean by data imputation? Replace the missing value with some value. What do you mean by some value? That we will discuss it later. At this moment, you just think data imputation it's a fancy word. In simple term, what we do is, wherever the missing values are there, whichever columns we have missing values, we replace that missing value with some meaningful value. That I will explain it later. The next one is, we create new columns based on the existing column, or based on the business rule, we create the new column. What do you mean by when do we create a new column? The simple example is for each line item in my sales data, we need to multiply the quantity and price in order to get the sales amount. So in that case, you take the existing columns quantity, and you multiply that by with your price column in order to derive your new column sales amount. Another example is for data scientist. Okay, in this session, data scientist people also they join, right? So let's say you want to extract month, year separately from your year column. You can extract it. So you can create a new column by the name of year, month, day, week number, weekday, all the things you can extract it. Those newly created columns based on the existing column are called your derived columns. Next, we do some kind of data aggregation. Once you do cleaning all the things, right? So you do data aggregation, like region-wise, quarter-wise sales performance. In Power BI, in the DAX, we have a lot of functions are available. With that, we can do, we can play around with the date-related data to do the year-on-year, quarter-on-quarter, month-on-month, month-to-date sales, quarter-to-date sales, everything you can do it. But data aggregation is also right. We something like sum of something, group by, those kind of things. We do it as part of data aggregation. Okay, so all these tasks we do it, in the Power Query editor, which means in the source, in the staging area. You remember in the staging area earlier I shown you, right? In the staging area, once you have the data available, all the source system data available here, you do all kind of transformation. Not necessarily you have to do all this transformation on a case to case basis. If you don't have duplicate records in a data set, you don't have to do this one. Okay, on a case to case basis, we need to see what kind of transformation are required, and also business rules. Based on the business rules, like I said, the creating the derived columns, it requires some business logic. Based on the business logic, because the different department, they use different KPIs. For example, in the case of supply chain management, they use customer order cycle time. How to find out the customer order cycle time into inventory turnover. So they'll give you some formula kind of thing, business logic. Okay, and in the case of finance, you have some gross profit margin, EBITDA, expense before income tax, right? So, and monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue. For all these things, formulas are there. So using the business logic is nothing but the formula. Okay, so what we do is we create the new columns based on the existing columns. All these things you do it, and then we do summarization, data aggregation, everything. These are the common transformations. We do it as part of any analytics project. So you remember ETL. Okay, ETL. We call this a ETL process. ETL, if somebody tells you ETL, what kind of ETL process you do? We extracted the data, and the staging area, we transform the data, and once we transform the data, we loaded the data in the data warehouse. But there are some cases, small or mid-sized companies, they cannot afford to set up an expensive data warehouse. Setting up a data warehouse is not that easy task, right? It involves a lot of cost, a lot of time and effort to set up this one, because you are going to store huge volume of data here, right? Even in the case of mid-sized company, the volume of data, and they cannot afford, right? So again, it involves a licensing cost, many factors. So in that case, what they do is Power BI itself, right? Once you do the data model design, the data will get loaded into your model. After you do the extraction and transformation using Power Query editor, and the data will get loaded into your Power BI data model itself. You don't have to have the expensive data warehouse, but most of the enterprises, they have this kind of system. Okay, and again, they have something called real time, near real time. I'm not going to discuss at this moment. It is too early to discuss so many things. So simply remember ETL. If somebody is asking in the interview, so what kind of ETL process you did? So what is your architecture? You just simply say, we have a data warehouse. The data warehouse is nothing but a database. The data warehouse lies in our SQL server database. Okay, we simply pull the data from the SQL data warehouse, and then we develop the reports. Okay, so data model, everything, they would have done it, everything here. There is something called the data model design, we call this a star schema. And also we have something else called snowflake schema. Star schema is the best practice, that is the one widely used by most of the practitioners or most of the enterprises. Okay, enough. I don't want to talk any further again about this. Remember ETL. Now you understood what is ETL, right? So this is what ETL. So now we will go ahead and see how we can do transformation. This is all called your data pre-processing, or some people they call it as a data pre-processing. Some people they call it as a data transformation. All these tasks we do it as part of data transformation. You just remember data transformation, data pre-processing, all these terms are same. Okay, these two terms are same. Okay. Next, what we will do is we will use the Power Query editor to do all these data transformation. Power Query editor is a data transformation and a mashup engine. Okay, with Power Query you can extract data from many data sources, and you can you can do all kind of data transformation using Power Query. So these are the things I already discussed about it. And so what we will do is we will start with all these things, how to split the column, how to rename a column. We'll start with a simple example, and then we will proceed with a little complex one in today's session. I'll just open the Power BI desktop. So I'm going to close this one. It is not required. Opened a fresh new Power BI desktop. Here we did not load any data. I just simply load a few data set, simple smaller data set. So when you try to open an Excel file, it will show more than one, something like this. Okay. So this is nothing but if you have multiple sheets in a single Excel, it will show everything. So before you load the data, you need to check, which sheet you are interested in. Okay. So this is the sheet that I want to load it. And okay, let me do one thing, not this one, the other one. For demo purpose, I created another file, expenses.xls. Okay. Even this is not much helpful. 1 second, let me just open the recent sources. Okay, let me do one thing. I just go and fill up down. Okay, fill up down, and yeah, that is what I was trying to do it. For doing all kind of data transformation and cleaning processes, the Power Query Editor will be our primary tool. That is where we do all kind of cleaning, everything. More minute. Okay, the data got loaded. So when I just loaded the fill an Excel file, okay, fill the Excel file name is something, okay, I imported that the Excel file data here. The moment when you import the data from Excel or any type of sources in Power BI, it consider all those different type of sources as a table. That's the reason why we see this icon table here. Actually, it is an Excel file, but Power BI consider them as a table once it gets loaded into Power BI. Okay. When you expand this, you can see the columns that are part of this Excel file. Okay. First step is go to the home ribbon. I just home ribbon, get data, first step. And step 1, in my case it is Excel file. You just click on it and navigate to the folder where you stored your file. the Excel file, and then and then click on it. It will open the preview data window. So there you need to check which sheet within that Excel you need to load it here. If you want to load all the subsheets which is part of your single Excel file, you can select all of them. In my case, I need only the expenses sheet. I just selected that one and then I loaded here. If you want to see the data, you need to go to this. You need to click on this icon. So when you click on this, you can see the data that are available as part of this table. Fine. So I could see the data. These are the data that are available here. The next, what I do is I just go ahead and import another file. Another Excel file. So this is your data preview window. Here you can check whether you are using the correct file and the data are correct or not, right? So you can just verify it here. Everything is correct, and I just click on the load. I don't want to do transformation now. Okay, I have two data files. Now I'm going to launch the Power Query Editor. So how do we launch this one? So we can find this transform data under this home ribbon. When you just click on this, you will find something like transform data. I just clicked on it here. Still it is yet to be visible here. Okay, sales W04 got imported and expanded, and you just go here and click on the transform data to launch your Power Query Editor. When I clicked on the Power Transform data, it opened the Power Query Editor. This is where we do all kind of data pre-processing, cleaning, everything we do it here. So this Power Query Editor, it has its own separate environment for us to work on. Look here, here if you want to create a report, you can do it here. If you want to do data model design, you can do it here. But when it comes to data cleaning or data pre-processing, it opens a separate environment for Power Query Editor. And another thing, if you notice it here, even though it is an Excel file, it considers a table. This is a table icon. Okay, but when I open this, launch this Power Query Editor, so these tables are considered as queries. Okay, these tables are considered as queries. Okay, irrespective of the file type or source data, it considers them as a queries as part of our Power Query Editor. Okay. Before we dive into understand the capabilities of the Power Query Editor, now let us take a quick look at the important parts of the Power Query Editor interface. Okay. So we have something called, when you click on home, you can see the new source here. Instead of get data, you can see no new source. You can import the data here also. Okay, in the Power Query Editor also, using this option, you can import the data. okay, using which you can establish your connection details, okay, and you can import the data. It is nothing but your this interface is similar to the get data button, okay. The next one is the query pane. So this is what the query pane. So this is what, one second, this is what called as a query pane. What you are seeing here is a query pane. It is called as a query pane, and the list of all the queries that you have connected to will be displayed here. So I have two tables, expenses and sales. So these two queries, right, are visible here. The next one is the query settings. You can find the query settings here. And let me just, okay, it got disappeared. So the next one is the query settings. You can see it on the right top corner. So with this pane, we can rename the query. You can give some meaningful name and all, okay. You can give some meaningful name. This is what the query settings. Okay, it is not coming. This is what query settings, and here you can rename this query, okay, and you can select the next query. For example, on the left side, sales W04 is there, so you can give some meaningful name. Week 4 sales. You can give some meaningful name under the properties. Okay, fine. So here you can rename the files, the query name and all, you can rename it here. And next what we will do is we will do one simple exercise here. So in this data set, we can see a lot of columns here. When you scroll it towards the right side, slowly you can see all the other columns. A lot of columns are there. And then, so you can see the total number of columns at the bottom here. So here you can see the 26 columns are there in this data set. I don't need this column for my analysis. I just click on it. This column got removed. Okay. So what happens here is, the moment when I right click and selected the remove option in the context menu, that column got removed automatically. For that, you don't have to write any script. Unlike other programming languages, here you don't have to write any script. Simply point and click it, and then if you don't need a column, click on it, it will get removed. Supposing if I don't need this column, you do this, you click on it, it will get removed. You don't have to write any script. In Python, you have to write script to remove a column or a record or something like that. Okay, here you don't do that. But what happens is, behind the scene, the M engine, the mashup engine, Power Query Editor mashup engine, behind the scene, it generates something called M language. It generates something called M language. So on your behalf, it generates the script. What else you needed? For any simple or basic data transformations, you can do it just by clicking on it, right? If you simply clicking on it, you can do all the things. So behind the scene, it generates this script. This is called your M language. Fine. So whatever the steps that we carry out, what step that I carry out, I removed a column. So it gets, that steps will get listed in the sequential manner under the applied steps pane. Okay, under the applied steps, all the steps whatever we carried out, it will get recorded here. For example, later point in time you realize no, I mistakenly I removed the column. I want to undo this one. I want the column back. How can I restore it? Just click on this cross icon so that you will get back your column which you removed it. Okay. So in Power Query Editor, Control Z, the Z will not work. Control Z or Control Z will not work. Okay. So here I was able to restore it successfully. The next step is I just go ahead and Next step is, okay, so this is for your demonstration purpose, I told you. And one second here, I just this is not working, this tool. Sometimes it works. Yeah, I don't need this one, I just want to remove it. It got removed. The next one is I'm going to change the data type. Let me see if the columns, all the columns are assigned with correct data type. But if you look at here, just before each column you will find something like ABC. ABC is nothing but text data type. So these columns are text data type, and almost all the columns were considered. Okay, this one 1.2 is your decimal data type, right? Decimal data type, and you have some quantitative variable is there, and your text data type is there. And now let us take a look at the sales column. The sales column has some text. It got assigned as a text data type. Actually, sales supposed to be a numeric variable, or it is a decimal number, right? But it mistakenly assigned the text data type to sales. It did not assign it mistakenly, since it found the special character dollar along with the numeric value. It considered the entire column data as a text data type, and then it assigned the text data type. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I wanted to remove the dollar. If I remove the dollar, and then if I convert a decimal number data type, we can solve this issue. Replace values. I'm going to say dollar. When you right click on it, this is also called as data transformation. I'm going to transform the values here, right? So I'm going to replace the dollar by nothing. This is one way of smartly removing the special character dollar here. Fine. And the next step is I wanted to convert this as a decimal number data type. Before that, what I do is, here I can see a lot of NA. NA stands for not applicable, missing value. You could see some kind of missing values are there. What I do is I right click on it. So this is called your context menu. In the context menu, I am going to use the replace values again. Here I just stay NA as 0 here. I just replace all the NA by 0 here. Look here, we are able to successfully replace all the NA missing values by 0 instead of leaving it as NA. See, in your data set, if you have blank values, when you load the same data into your Power BI, what it does is, for the blank values it put NA. Okay, so we have to replace the NA by 0, okay, or some other value. Okay, so in our case, for simplicity's sake, we replaced all the NA by 0. I discussed about data imputation, replacing the missing value with some meaningful value, right? So this is not a meaningful value. For illustration purpose, I just replace the NA by 0. Fine. Now we could see all the numerically, we don't see any character data type. And when you click on this drill down, right? So sorry, not drill down, this drop down, you can see, you don't see anything. If you take a cursory look at it, so we don't see anything, any character values along with this one. Okay, so next what I do is I just click on this one, ABC. It is loading. Let's wait for some time. I did not use any other files. I don't know why it is. Okay. Yeah, that is the only one file. Okay, when you click on this icon, you can find all the data types that are available as part of your Power Query Editor. So it's pretty simple. Unlike SQL Server, you don't have to remember so many data types. Only few data types that are decimal number. Okay, what I do is I just click on it. The sales column gets converted as a, or Power BI, it will assign this column as a decimal number data type. With this, you can do any arithmetic operation. Fine, I'm done with this. So I did how many steps I did it. If you want to check it, you just click on this filtered rows, and we just clicked on the drop down, right? And then we clicked on the, sorry, we did not click on it. We replaced the NA by the missing value by 0, and you can go and check here. It's something like it registers whatever the task we carried out sequentially. Okay, so first we removed a column, which column, row dot id, and second one we replaced the dollar by the empty string, something like that, and next one is, and we can see one more replace value. Yeah, we replace the missing value, blank values by 0 here, right? That is what we did it. And the next one is filtered rows. I just simply, this is not required, right? So let it be there. And next one is I change the data type to number data type. Okay, number or the decimal number data type. So in the under the applied steps, it registers or it stores all the steps whatever we carry out to transform the data, right? It sequentially it maintains that one. Okay, so that if you think later point in time, hey, I want this column back, you can just select it, you click on it, you can restore the column. You can do Control Z, and also you can rename this transformation name also, meaningful name you can give it. Okay, remove row ID column, meaningful name. If you give it later point in time, you can refer it back. And next, when you go to view, when you click on the view ribbon, and here you'll find something like advanced editor. When you click on this, all these steps related commands, you can see it here. So if you want to see what M language was used to change the data type, so you need to click on this. Okay, and what command it used to remove the column, you need to click on it. So to see the M language it generated behind the scene for each and every step, you need to click on each and everything. Instead, you go to view ribbon, click on the advanced editor. For all these steps, the corresponding M language is generated automatically by Power Query Editor. You can see it in this place, advanced editor. So these 3 steps was done automatically. Okay, we did not do anything. And up to this, the 4 thing, right? So this one, it automatically assign the data type, everything. And then from the line number 6 onwards, we did the transformation. We removed this column and we replaced the dollar by blank value, NA by 0. And this is not required, let it be there. And here what we did, we changed the data type for the sales column as a number data type. All these things got recorded here. So this is called your let block and in block. So I will discuss about let and in block later point in time. We wanted to see all the M script generated for each steps. You can go and see it in a single place, advanced editor. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything. I just simply say, and the next step. Oh, okay. So okay, we are done everything. Next one is, okay, I've done all kind of data transformation. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the file, and you will find 3 options: close and apply, apply, close. When I click on close and apply, what is going to happen is this one will close this Power Query Editor, and also it will apply all these steps to my data model. Okay, so what I do is when I click on the second one, it will apply all these steps to my data model, but the Power Query Editor will not get closed. The next one is, no, I don't want to apply all these steps, simply close it, it will close it. That's all. So what I am going to do is, I want to close this Power Query Editor. as well as I want all these steps to be applied to my data model. See, whatever steps that you carried out, it is all in the memory. Okay, if you want to make it permanent, so you need to use the apply. Yeah, Karthik has a question. Sorry, I just saw it. Can we save the transfer? No, we cannot. That's one drawback with Power BI. You cannot store the transformed data in your local system in Power BI. That's one drawback. You have to do some kind of copy pasting. Okay, that is the one drawback with this one. For example, you need to select each and every column and then paste it in your. So this is the one we did all kind of. So here our row ID column we removed it, hence it is not there. You need to select each and every column and then only you need to do it. Okay, you can do it, or else you create a table. So this is a table visual, and simply expand this table and drag and drop all the columns here, and then you have an option called. Sorry, you just put at least one value here, or you can click on the checkbox here against each column. Fine. So if you want to export the data, just click on it here. So this is called your ellipses, the three dots. When you click on this, you will have options here, export data. This is how you can export it. So you cannot directly store the data. There is no other option. Okay, you cannot export the data from your Power BI directly. Maybe in the latest in the upcoming version they might be introducing that feature. As of today, there is no as such feature is available to export the data, the transformed data into your local system. Okay, so now you understood the important interfaces as part of the Power Query Editor, and also we did very basic data transformation, okay, using Power Query Editor. Okay, the next one is what I am going to do is if you want to see the the location of these files, you just simply click on the transform data and data source settings. If you click on it, it will show you the file name along with the folder name here. Oh, these are the files from this folder I have used it. And next what I am going to do is I am going to use I try the CSV file, not this one. You have something called text CSV. If you want to import the CSV file, this is what we already discussed. I just navigated to this folder and I'm going to import this one. I'm going to load this one now. Okay, so here this is my CSV file. Just now if you see here, the column names are not the proper name. Sometimes you may experience this kind of problem. So what we do is we just go to the Power Query Editor. We have an option called use first row as headers. So the arranging the column name or headers are often an important first talk, okay, when managing your data. This is the first task you need to do it. So look here. Here When you open it, you can see the column header is not there, but the column header is available here, right? So what we will do is we'll go to click on the transform thing, use first row, but here the first row also, let's see what happens here. Even the first row also some blank values are there, and we go here one more time and use first row as it is. Now the column headers are properly assigned, right? So this is how you can promote your row values as a column headers. Use first row as headers. Sometimes use headers as first row. Sometimes what will happen is, right, you want the first row as your headers as your first row, you can do it that way, but usually we don't do it. These are the data related issues you will be posing it. The customer will be sharing the data, or the data whatever you received from source system, it is not in the proper format. Instead of having the column header in the proper column header in the column header position, it will be available in the row itself. Hence it will show column 1, column 2, something like that. You need to make sure that you are going to promote the first row or second row, which is your column header, to your row header into a column header. Okay, row value into column header. So you need to promote it. This is very common transform that you can expect to use often with the flat files. Okay. The next one is the remove columns. Already we have seen it, how to remove a column. The another advantage with the context menu here is, for my analysis, I don't need many columns. Okay, let's say I just want to have only 4 columns. You can select you can select more than one column by holding the control key. Rest of the columns I don't need it. Remove other columns. In one go, you can remove all the other columns that are not required. If you have 200 columns are there, out of the 200 columns, you are very particular about only the, or you want to use only the 10 columns. You select only 10 columns, right click on it, remove other columns. If you click on it, it will remove the rest of the columns. Okay, and next what we will do is we will try to convert the data type. You see, order date is also the text data type. So what I want to do is I want to convert the date data type. If I click on this icon here, I can see all the data types that are available here. I need to convert the date data type. When I click on this, only some portion of the data in this column got converted as the date data type, and certain data, right, some data it was not able to convert the date data type. Instead, it converted as a error. Okay, the reason is, so look here, I don't want this data because I have an error. Along with that, some values are there, so I want to get back to the previous state of these column values. Click on this change type 3. Okay, now what I do is I see the data, the value in this column are not consistent. The format of this values of these column values, right, it's not consistent. Somewhere here they used hyphen to distinguish the month date here, right? So and somewhere they used the forward slash. But fortunately, right, so here even in this case, they use month date year, and here also they use month date year. So this date date is 31, right? It can be more than 12. So with this we can make out, so it is a date month year. Randomly if you see it, yes, most of them. So what we do is either we replace the hyphen by forward slash, or we do it other way around. Okay, so what I am going to do is I just right click on it. See, the values in your column should be consistent. The format should be consistent for your data in each column. To make it consistent, we need to do some kind of cleaning. This is also kind of cleaning or data transformation. We need to do it. So find out wherever the hyphen is there, replace it by forward slash. I'm going to replace wherever the hyphen is there by forward slash. Just click on OK. Look here, a new step got created, replaced value here, and here the hyphen got replaced by forward slash. Good. Now we are able to have a consistent values in the date column, order date. Next, what I'm going to do is I just go and click on it. When I click date here, still I'm getting error. So I need to get back to the previous state and click on this. And we have something called using locale. So you can use some M commands, M language commands also to transform this. The other option is you can split this. You can split the month separately, date separately, year separately in 3 different columns. Later on you can combine it. That way also you can do it. But other option is, here I'm going to select the data type as date. I'm going to use English United States. Okay, and using locale, we are going to say, because month, date, year is the USA default date format. This is very important, remember it. Even in the case of data science, right, when you work on data science projects, we do it this way only, okay. We make sure that the date column will have the date in the date, month, year format. Now, okay, look here, we can see the calendar icon here, which means the order date column got converted, the data type of this column got assigned with date data type successfully. We don't see any error here. So if you see here, right, we have something called, this is called your profiling. So valid, 100% data in this column is valid, and we don't see any error. We don't see any blank values in this column. Got it? Fine. So we did some kind of thing here, and then next step is I'm going to do, I want to create 3 different columns to hold year separately, month separately, date separately for the order date. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this column. I'll tell you why I duplicated this one here. Next, what I do is I just click on the home ribbon, not the home ribbon, transform thing here. Can you see date here? Data type is date, not this one. One second, I just selected this. Okay, I selected this and add column. In the add column ribbon, you will find something called date time here. Okay, date thing. Here, if you go and select year, it will extract only the year from the date column. So to extract only the year from the order date is possible only when your order date column is date data type, right? So in order to convert this as a date data type, we spent some time, right? Fine. So now I extracted this one. Now order date copy is still there. So what I'm going to do is, with this, I'm going to add column and I'm going to date, and if you want to extract only month, from this one you can extract it. See, order date copy, you don't have to take a copy or duplicate of this one. With the order date itself, you could have extracted it. One way it is good, okay. Sometimes, right, you just take a duplicate of this one and do it. Because in the older version, what will happen is when you extract month, year, it will override this value. For example, if I select this and when I go to add column and the date, when I try to click on the year, what will happen is it will extract the year from this column and then it will overwrite all the values by year in the older version, okay. But anyhow, in the newer version, we don't have that issue. I'm not saying this is the most up to date version of the Power BI. So even now, they every once in 2 months they are releasing new version. Fine. Next, what I do is I just go to column and date, and I just extract the day. Whatever you want it, you can extract it. Okay. The next one is I don't need this column. I just remove it simply. So here is numeric value 1, 2, 3. It's a whole number. If you click on this, you can see this one. So decimal number, fixed decimal number, whole number, and percentage date time. If you want to have the date time in your column, you can select date time. If you want to specify, or if you want to configure the incremental refresh, your date column is supposed to be a date time data type. Okay, you cannot use with the date data type. You cannot configure the incremental refresh. Anyhow, we'll discuss this later. At this moment, I just converted the order date column as a date data type, and then extract. I created 3 new columns. These are called your derived feature. So in the interview, they'll ask you what kind of data transformations that you did it. So whatever we did it, we can tell them. So the date data type, order date supposed to be date data type, but it was in the text data type. While reading it, reading the data, Power BI assign the text data type to the order date. So we had to explicitly convert that as a date data type, but it was not as easy as how we thought. When we looked at the data, we could see that the day values in the order date column was not consistent. The format was not consistent. So what we did, you tell all these things, whatever we did. So look here on the right side under the applied steps, so many transformations, so many steps we carried out so far. And even the ship date column also, it assigned it as a text data type. Here also we could see the same issue. There is some kind of inconsistency when it comes to the formatting. Whatever we did it, you do the same thing here. And the next one is so I don't need the postal code, all the things. I'm going to remove this column, and market region is required. I don't need this column. So you can remove all the columns that are not required for your analysis. Try to keep only the columns or the records that are relevant to your analysis in your model, so that the performance will be faster. Okay. Now the question is, okay, I removed a column. I removed almost 3 columns, and I have created 3 new columns: year, month, day. So does that mean these whatever the new columns that I created, what are the columns that I removed it, will get updated in my CSV file in my operating system? No. This is external. Everything is happening in the memory, Power BI memory. It is all happening in the memory. Okay, it is not going to update your data file. Okay, and also when you insert any new data, say after you load the data from your sales file, the sales w04.csv into Power BI, when you try to insert the data, when you insert any data after you loaded this data into Power BI, the new data will not get loaded automatically here. So in order to load or refresh the newly inserted data in your CSV file into your Power BI, you need to click on the home ribbon and you need to click on the refresh. Okay, not here, and when you go here, right, so when you see here, you will find something, a refresh icon. You can click on the refresh, so that whatever the data that you recently inserted into the sales.w4 CSV file will get reflected here. Okay, anyhow, I'll show you with a simple file. Even with small volume of data, it takes a lot of time. I'm going to use a small data set. Fine, we are done with this. Next one is I'm going to click on close and apply. I want to close this Power Query editor, as well as apply all these steps on my data model. Close and apply. Without going to the Power Query editor, is there any way if I can check the data type for each column of my data file? Yes. For example, when you click on this, when you go to the data view here, and you can, on the right side, you will find all the tables, whatever we imported it. Any of this I'm going to delete from the model. I don't need it. We will use this one because in this table only we did all kind of transformation. Here also you can, when you click on it, when it will get expanded, you can see all the columns. Along with this, you can see the data also in the data view. Okay, here when you click on the order date, look here, the moment when you click on any specific column, this one will come up. Okay, this menu will come up. You can see the name of the column is order date, the data type is date, and the format is this one. You can change the format also here. Okay, if you want something like this format, you can click on it. You want date, month, year, instead of month, date, year, if you want to change it, you can change it here also. Okay, and yeah, another thing is you can see the sigma sign in front of few columns, right? These sigma signs, this is nothing but summarization for all the numeric column. What Power BI does is it does the some kind of aggregation behind the scene. It does the aggregation. Okay, profit is also some kind of aggregation, sum of profit. The default aggregation is sum function. The default aggregation is sum. For example, if I select product here, profit here, if you select, I selected the profit column, just before this profit I could see sum, and when you look at the summarization here, right, the default summarization is sum. Default summarization is sum. The data category is different thing, we will discuss it later. Look here, you can override this aggregation also using average, minimum, count, something like that. Usually we don't make any changes here. And the data category is latitude or longitude, something nonsense here. Okay, it's nowhere related, so you can simply ignore it. Okay, the default summarization is sum for all the numeric variable. Remember this. Okay, the next one is, I just go to this expenses data set. Okay, before I just go to the expenses data set. Okay, in the expenses data set, I can see null values here, blank values here, right? So blank values are there here. I just go to the Power Query editor. In the Power Query editor, I can see same column, I can see here also, but here we can see the null here. For the blank values, it put null here. Okay, in some cases it puts NA, in some cases it puts null here. Okay, and here the month, expenses, all these columns are whole number except the verifier. This is a text data type. This is one way it is convenient, displaying the icon relevant to the data type along with the column name. It will help you to understand at a glance, right, what column has what data type assigned, right? Okay, the next one is we have some null values are there. We don't want the null values to be part of this data set. We want to do some kind of data imputation, replace this null with some meaningful value. Before you replace the null value with some meaningful value, so it is better always check with your application owner in your company, with a US customer, or all these data are related up to the row number 9, or these data are related to 2020. After 2021 we could see null. So does that mean anything below 2021 or relate 2021. If the customer says yes, anything below 2021 or 2021, anything below 2020 or 2020 only. But if you have null, if you leave it as it is, it will be a null. If you want to do some kind of filtering, let's say you want to see only the 2020 year 2020 total expenses, what will happen is only this record will get filtered. Rest of them, since you have null values, Power BI will simply ignore this one. So I need to replace this one by 2020 and 2021 for this one. So we have something called fill up and fill down option is available as part of your transform menu here. If you see here, you will find something called fill here, fill down, fill up. What is this fill down? What it does is, okay, we call the fill down operation, fill up operation. The fill down operation, what it does is, it takes the column. For example, if I select this column, since here I selected this column, and this fill down operation, what it does is, it takes this year column and it iterates over its value. First it goes and checks 2020, okay, and anything below 2020, right? If it finds null, it replaces that by 2020 until it finds the non-null value. So this is a non-null value, isn't it? So simply what it does is, all the null values downwards, it replaces that with 2020. But here it will not replace it by 2020 because it is a non-null value. Until it finds a non-null value, it replaces that with the previous value. We will just look at it. When I click on this, what will happen is, look here, we had 9 records related to 2020, and after 2021, whatever the null values are got replaced by 2021. This is called fill down operation. It takes a column, and then what it does is, if it finds any non-null value, it replaces the non-null value for the subsequent null values until it finds a non-null value. That is called your fill down operation. It is pretty simple, isn't it? Next one is, we have something called fill up operation. So we found something called fill up. I'm not going to explain this now. I want you to understand this with my action. Look here, in this column, here we see null. Whereas here we found non-null value, followed by that we found null value, but it is opposite. We found null value, and then we could see some value, and then we see null, and the end of it we could see some non-null value. In this case, I just selected this column. I'm going to apply this fill up operation. Look here, what is happening here? The last value of the column, it takes it, and then it fills the null values just above this, right? All the null values above the above this last value, right? And just below this, we found the last record, we found Shweta, rest of them we found null. So it works in the bottom up direction, whereas the fill down operation works in the top down direction. That is what fill up and fill down. Instead of having the blank values, see, in this case it makes really sense, right? So in this case, 2020, if you replace everything, see, you are confirming with customer also. You are talking to the US customer, you are working in a project, you are asking them, before you make assumption, don't go by assumption, always get it validated with your customers, US customers, okay? And in that case, or your project lead in your project, don't directly go to US customer, ask your current project leader or project manager. If he says, if he knows, right, he will tell you, otherwise he will get back to you, okay? Fine. So this is top down and this is bottom up. So the top down is fill down, bottom up is your fill up. So in this case, it really makes sense. After confirmation, it saves a lot of your time. It's a pretty cool feature. If you don't have this feature, you need to write some script. So it will take some time. With this simple feature, right? So just by clicking on it, we are able to fill the missing values with some meaningful value in this case. I'm saying about the meaningful value here. After confirmation with your customer only you are doing it, right? So hence it is meaningful value because they know very well, right? Up to which record 2020, up to which record 2021. Supposing you have 20 year you have 2020 null and you have 2021 and then 2020, then nothing can be done. So in that case also what you can do is you can sort the data. Right, you can sort the data so that all the 2020 will be in the same group, 2021 will be in the same group, but in that case it will be confusion, right? So anything below 2020, if you have null value, it does, but in that case it will be little bit challenging. You need to customize your script. But if you any data, if you find it something like this, it will be pretty simple. If you have a mix of 2020 and 2021, in between you have null value, it will be challenging one. But when it comes to this bottom up, so here also it is the same thing, right? So it is after confirming with customer, you are filling the values. In that case it is good. But if you have mix of values, then it is a problem. You have something like John and missing values, and then Shweta and missing values, again John and missing values. You need to check with them. Anything followed by John, can I replace that null value as John? Anything below Shweta, can I fill that, or above that, right? So can I fill that with Shweta? You need to check with them and then try it out. Okay. But in general, this approach will not work in all the cases. Supposing you have missing values in expenses. In this case, it is okay, but in the expenses, you have null values here. Let's say you have, instead of expenses, you just assume that here we have quantity column. Let's this is this is quantity. Let me just sorry. Let's see, this is my it's not working. Yeah, this is my quantity column, and this is my price, something like that, right? In the price, if you have missing value, null here, you have some null values are there. So in that case, do you think this fill down can help you? It cannot. It will not help you. In that kind of situation, you need to check with the customer about the price for this product. Sometimes what they say, for the same product, already we have another record. For that record, if you find the price, you take that price and fill it here. That kind of situation, you need to write you need to customize your M script. See, the M language generated on our behalf for simple transformation. In case of any complex transformation, like this example, price cannot be same for all the product, isn't it? So you cannot simply replace the missing value by 5,400 just because I have fill down and fill up. That is completely illogical. In that kind of situation, based on some condition, you need to replace the missing value with the correct value, price. Again, I have some complex scenarios. I am not going to discuss this now. See, the price can also vary for some products from time to time within a year. Let's assume that first quarter product A, the price is 100, and second quarter the product price is 115. So in that case, in the second quarter, if you find any missing value for the price, you need to obtain the price for the second quarter for the product A. You cannot blindly pick up quarter 1 price for product A and replace it here. So in that kind of complex transformation, right? So you need to you need to customize your M script. So this is fill up and fill down. It's pretty simple. Next, what we will do is, I just go and remove this column. It is not required for me. Next, we will learn something else called pivoting and unpivoting. How to do pivot and unpivot using the Power Query editor. So when you click on the transform ribbon, you will find something called pivot column here itself. You will find some pivot column here, and you will find something else called unpivot column here, right? And we have 3 different options that are available as part of unpivot column. Okay, unpivot column. We'll start with understanding pivot column. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this column, year column. In the year column, we have values only for the 2020 and 2021. Only 2 years related data are there here. So I'm going to transform, and I'm going to select pivot column. So what is pivoting? In Excel also the pivoting option is available, isn't it? So what this pivot does, to convert your rows into columns. To convert rows into columns, if somebody says what is pivoting, or if they ask you what is pivoting, to convert rows into columns. Sometimes what will happen is, if somebody is asking you what is the 2020 year 2020 expenses for month 1 and month 2, sorry, 2020 for month 1 and 2021 month 1, what is the expenses? Or 2020 month 1 and month 2 and 2021 month 1 and month 2, I want to know the expenses. So in that case, if you do pivoting, it will be pretty simple, right? It's pretty easier to understand it. So what we will do is, I just selected year column here. I want to convert the year values, the rows, into columns. I want to have 2020 and 2021 here. I just go to transform and I click on the pivot column. So now it opens and it asks us the values column. Here you need to select the numeric value, expenses, okay? And this is also numeric value, but it is a categorical variable, isn't it? It is a categorical variable. Year and month is categorical variable, whereas expense is not a categorical variable. In month, we have 12 categories in general. Each year, you have 12, but in this case, we have data only for 9 months, and for 2021, we have 12 months. Right, these two are categories. So here in the values column, I selected the expenses. Let's see what happens. 2021 for each month. For example, in one glance you can say, right? So for first 2 months, the expenses are 10,500. Here something 29,000, right? So 2020, the row became column here. The year, the values of the year in the rows, right? It became a column. It got converted as a columns. We converted the year from rows into columns. This is called pivoting. Okay, supposing I don't want this format. I want to do pivoting on month. Okay, I just want to undo this one by clicking on this cross icon. Look here on the right side. Okay, I am going to click on this. It will give me the previous state of my data. Good. So instead of year, do a pivot on month. Okay, I just click on transform, click on pivot, and here I need to select the expenses. So we have only 2 here. it remains as it is, and all the month data got converted as a columns, right? The first month for 2020, what is the expense? Second month, second year, 2021, first month, what is the expenses? If you scroll across, you can see it. Oh, here 2020 we could see all the values, right? Okay. So okay, next one is I want to do unpivoting. How can I do unpivoting? I don't want to do the pivoting. So one way is you can just click on it, right? But when you click on the right side here, the cross here, along with the pivoted, right? When you click on it, it will be undone. But I don't want to undo this one. I want this one to remain as it is. Select all the columns that you want to unpivoting up to this one. Sorry, what you need to do is you need to hold the control key and then sorry, why it's not getting selected? Okay, you need to select one after another. Okay, so hold the control key and select one after. You cannot select everything in one shot. Selected it. We selected all these columns. I'm not going to do anything because I want to unpivoting. I just go to the transform and you go to unpivot columns. We got back to the previous state, but now it gives some different name here for this column. It is nothing but month only, and this is expenses. You need to rename it here. When in the case of unpivot, you need to rename the column expenses. Fine. Okay, so now you learned how to do unpivoting. Okay, and the next one is we have something else called unpivot other columns, unpivot only selected columns. See, I just delete this one. I'll simply undo this one. Let me undo this one. See, in this case, right, I just select year column alone. It's pretty simple. So instead of selecting all these columns which I want to do unpivoting, starting from column 1 to till the end, it's a painful job. Simply select the column, right? Simply select the column which you don't want to do unpivoting, and you go to the transform ribbon, click on unpivot other column. That's it. Just for our convenience sake, right? They gave those options. Here you say month expenses. You need to rename it. That's all. And the next one is the other option is I just undo this one also. And the next option is in transform we found unpivot only selected columns. I don't want to unpivot all the columns, only selected columns I want to unpivot. So for example, if you don't want all the columns, only the selected columns, if you want to unpivot it, you can do it. That is another option they've given it. So we use in general the unpivot columns, but if you have more number of columns to be done with unpivot, better you can go for this unpivot other columns. Pretty straightforward. So now you learned what is pivoting and unpivoting. So using pivoting and unpivoting, we can shape the data. Okay. Fine. Okay. With this, I'm going to wrap up today's session. Tomorrow we will continue with different topics like other data transformations. We will see it tomorrow, and we will work with SQL Server also. We will import some tables from SQL Server, and also we will do some kind of transformation. Everything okay tomorrow. Fine. So any questions so far? Obviously, when it comes to the complex transformations, you need to write some script, okay? Or you don't have to write. Probably you can. Yes, yes. Mala asked a very good question. So, is it possible to reshape the code in advanced editor? It is only for visualizing the backend work. Yeah, the advanced editor is very much helpful to modify your script. Okay, you can go ahead and make changes to your script in the advanced editor. Okay, you can do it here also, right? And we will see the the how to create a function, custom function, and how to create a custom column in Power Query Editor, and how to create the conditional column from examples in tomorrow's session. Okay, the column from example is somewhat similar to our machine learning, right? Teaching the machine learning algorithm, and then once we train your model, it makes a prediction on the unseen data. Same principle when it comes to, it's somewhat similar to that. Okay, when it comes to column from examples feature in Power BI, Power Query Editor. Any other questions? Okay, since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session now, and make sure that you are watching my video and start practicing it. Right, so don't postpone it. Fine. All right, we will circle back tomorrow. Tomorrow we will start by 8:30 itself. Okay.